Welcome to a new episode of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement. I am here at the News Forum where all voices matter. With the economic war with the United States upon us, it's an opportune time to check in with Osler Law Firm Special Advisor Stephen Poloz. He served as the governor of the Bank of Canada from 2013 to 2020. Welcome back to Boom and Bust.
Pleasure to be here, Tony. Thanks.
I guess keeping in mind that we tape a show and who knows how many times things will change between now and next week, for instance. But I'd love to get your initial reaction to the U.S. tariffs on Canada.
Well, so much has been said, Tony. It's an insult and all of those things. But setting that aside, let's think about the economics of it. That's throwing a spoke into the wheels of international trade. It's definitely going to slow everybody down. It's a stagflationary shock, using an old term, but it's where economies will slow, plus inflation will rise at the same time. And, the most vulnerable economies will probably see more stag than inflation. And, the big economy will get more inflation than stag. That's kind of the way it should sort out, I guess. But of course, as you say, we don't really know what the shock looks like yet, except, well, tariffs did go into effect for a lot of things already. And you get the retaliation, which is a natural thing to do, but also, like any war, it adds up to the costs. When you retaliate, you're putting additional costs on both economies, and so, like any war, the costs continue to escalate like that, and so it's a very grim situation, really, at a time when Canada is not really that solid, to accept a shock that size.
Yeah, no, and I do want to get into that a little bit more, but let's just talk about the retaliation for a second. And again, I know it's too soon to tell how extensive it will be. Part one was announced by the federal government recently, but do you think the Canadian response is enough of a response given the breadth and depth of the potential tariffs from the United States?
I think it's a smart response. If a response is truly called for, which, I think when you're in a negotiation, you have to have your ammo out on the table. So I'm not close to that or anything, but I think that response is a relatively surgical. Surgical is a kind of maybe not the right term, because there's a lot of things on our list.
Right.
But still, every one of those things has been carefully chosen in such a way that it'll be really felt by someone in the United States. And I think the overall plan is to do things in such a way that it's really the voice of the American people, and particularly American businesses, which will have the most impact, I think, on decisions that are made in Washington. Obviously, we've done our best from here, to explain these things, and it just doesn't seem to matter when you explain them. That in effect, when someone's going to do something like this, their mind's made up, and
Right.
and you don't really know what the end game is, what the actual objective the president is looking for. Certainly, it can't be just about the border.
No,
It's something
no.
something larger than that.
Yeah, not just about the border or fentanyl, even though they keep talking about that. One of the reasons they probably keep talking about it is because in order to invoke executive order special measures, there has to be an emergency. So they keep talking about the fentanyl emergency. That's the way I look at it anyway. It's more of a cover.
I'm sure you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, but there are going to be impacts on U.S. consumers. With the higher prices, as you mentioned, the U.S. markets are responding to that. It sounds like that is having an impact on the Treasury Secretary Lutnick. Do you think there might be an internal conversation going on in the U.S. government?
I expect there will be, but it's kind of a mystery in a way, because this is like a very predictable thing, and it's not like anyone should be surprised. And we certainly have no inflation data yet. It's far too soon for that, and so I believe, if anything, it's the voices of people who are American business people or consumers who are
Right.
already concerned. And of course, inflation has become a hot button item over the last couple of years. And
Indeed.
so people are very wary about it. We thought
Right.
inflation was dead and buried. And
Here we
of
are.
course, we had one experience, but that's reawakened that concern.
Okay,
But
Stephen, we're just going to go to break right now. We'll continue believe me, there's lots to talk about. We'll do so right after these messages.